How's it going, everybody? Nerds Rising here, and welcome back to the Nerd Cave. In today's video, it is time once again to break out my signature Open Great League team, featuring Defense Deoxys on the lead, Diggersby as the closer, and the GOAT Double as the safe swap. Now, this team is not new. I started using this team really almost 2 years ago now. Basically, as soon as Double was released, I built this team, and it is super good, guys. I use it every single season to gain ELO. I typically break it out like halfway through the season, kind of when I'm done messing around, running Spice, and I'm actually looking to make a push. This is typically the first team that I use to make that push, and I already have like 3 videos out featuring the team, and I've gained up to like 500 ELO with the team in the past, so it's always really good, but I haven't used it yet this season. I hit Legend pretty early, so I hadn't really had a reason to use it, but I decided to break it out and see how it faces off against the current meta, because the meta is very, very different than it was last season. Tons of buffs and debuffs, lots of different threats out there, like the Alolan Sandslash, for example, is absolutely everywhere, and because of that, there's even more Medichams, but also less Flyers, things like Altaria, things like Skarmory, Pelippers even, just not as many of those things out there due to the prevalence of the Sandslash. So I wanted to try it out and see, is it still good? Does it still have play? And the answer is absolutely yes, it does. I started using this team around like 2450. I had dropped quite a bit running some Spice, and it got me all the way back up to 2700. I gained 250 ELO with it. I went 28 and 12 in about 40 battles, and that's a 70% win rate with the team, so it's pretty good. Now, for those of you guys who have been around for a minute, who have seen my previous videos, the main thing you'll note that's different is I'm actually running Quick Attack on the Diggersby. Now, the team functions. Basically, the team relies heavily on Defense Deoxys, because Defense Deoxys is going to be our anti-flyer, our anti-fighter, and you kind of always have to preserve the Defense Deoxys unless you see the Medicham on the lead, and even then, it's good to try to preserve it sometimes so you can take care of a potential flyer in the back, because the backline really doesn't love like a double flyer team or a backline that has like a flyer and a Medicham. So that's part of the reason why I switched over to Quick Attack on the Diggersby, because previously, Diggersby, although it's extremely bulky and really, really good, if you got locked into like an end game with an Altaria or something like a Noctowl, you lost. Even if you had 2 shields and it had a shield advantage, you still were going to get destroyed. So the Quick Attack on the Diggersby is just really, really good. It even actually flipped some crazy matchups, like Quick Attack Diggersby actually wins the 1s and the 2 shield scenario against Noctowl, which is crazy, like pretty comfortably as well. So definitely, if you're going to try the team, I think Quick Attack is the better move to run in this meta. But before this gets any longer, let's get right into it, guys. It is going to be a longer video, I'm sure, probably at least 30 minutes. I will, as always, when I do these more detailed breakdowns, I will divide it into chapters so you guys can see some of the common leads that I face, how you play against some of the meta lines. We're going to start out with lost leads and then kind of work our way into some more positive leads. But to be honest, the most common leads I saw with the team were Alolan Sandslash and Medicham, which are both very positive leads for the Deoxys. So I think DD is very good in this current meta. But that being said, let's get into the battles here. We're going to start off, I believe, with a couple Sableye leads and how I play out of this. I actually only saw 2 Sableye leads, and I actually beat them both. And one main thing to note as well that I think makes this team even better is the last time I used it, Trevenant hadn't been nerfed, so there was a ton of Trevenant, so I picked up a ton of Trevenant leads the last time I used this team, but I only saw like, I think 2 Trevenants total in my entire 40 battles, and none of them were on the lead. So really just people are not using Trevenant, which makes the Defense Deoxys just even more deadly. And as you see in the first battle here, the opponent caught our payback onto the Lantern. I try to go for good timing there by throwing 1 and then the move, but the Spark actually ends up KOing me, so that's a bit of a mistake. I should have just clicked the Body Slam right away, because I probably would have gotten a shield from the Lantern there, but instead, we just come in with a DD and get a huge farm down. We have a ton of energy here. I know the Sableye is going to be coming back in, and now it is Diggersby time, and this is the way this team works, guys. The double on the safe switch draws out their best answer to the Diggersby in the back, and oftentimes what you'll find is there's a ton of teams that are core broken by Diggersby, because oftentimes, for example, Sableyes are going to have Steel types in the back to cover their weakness to Charm on the lead, or Noctowl, for example, and sure enough, there's the Alolan Sandslash. Like clockwork, Diggersby is going to be sweeping this team in game 1. and I don't quite think they're in Fire Punch range, so I'm actually going to farm up just before their second Ice Punch, and we're going to full send the Earthquake here. The opponent tries to call the Fire Punch bait, and we land it. And since they see me full send the nuke, I'm now going to bait with a Fire Punch, recognizing that even if they call the bait there, I can just do another Fire Punch, and then I had the Thunderbolt loaded on the Deoxys. So really, this game was in the bag as soon as I basically take out the Lantern. Once I get rid of the Lantern, the Diggersby was in prime position to 2v1, or 1v2 the team, excuse me, and that's a good game. So next battle, another Sableye lead, and again, we bring in the double, and you're noticing the opponent is staying in, and they're going to chip us before switching out. And this is a good sign that if they're staying in, then they probably are weak in the back to the Diggersby, and sure enough, they have a Registeel on back. So this very well could be like a Sableye double Steel line. But the nice thing is, typically, you're not going to see a fighter in back with a Sableye lead, because that would make them very weak to something like an Azu, or like an Alolan Ninetales, or a Charmer. So oftentimes, if you get rid of their switch in, like a Registeel, or whatever their best answer to the double is, it usually just paves the way for Diggersby to just destroy their team. And Quick Attack Diggersby, again, what Quick Attack does on Diggersby is it makes it a slightly worse version of what it normally does really well at, and that's being a Steel counter. So for example, it's slightly worse against G-Fisk, slightly worse against Bastiodon, slightly worse against some of the Ghost types, but it still wins those matchups pretty comfortably. But what Quick Attack does do that's positive is it gives it play against things that would previously hard wall it, and you guys are going to see quite a bit of that. Another thing it does really well with Quick Attack is it puts the mons like Lickitung that are super bulky, or like Umbreon, where 2 Earthquakes normally wouldn't quite KO with the Mud Shots, but Quick Attack just does so much more damage that 2 of the nukes are definitely going to KO. As you see, we take out the Lickitung, and by the time we got to our second Earthquake, they were well within Earthquake range, and now Diggersby just going to sweep this game up here. And Sableye is going to go down. I think I recognized that I didn't switch out into the Deoxys, even though I knew I had the energy, because the Sableye cannot bank a return and a foul play. So I let them return me, and then I just come in and Thunderbolt them, and I take the win there. So I believe now I have a couple Flyer leads for you guys. This is going to be a Noctowl lead. I really didn't see too many Noctowl leads, but the way I typically like to play it is I just stay in at the start for a little while, and if they stay in this case they do switch out, but if they stay in, I will try to catch their second Shadow Ball to the double, but they switch into a Swampert, and I have so much energy here that I get a shield back, and now I'm going to bring in the double. Double can tank an Earthquake, so even if they full send it, which they do, double will survive. Double is just so good, guys. I think this is a little bit more accessible for you as well. In the last videos I made with this team in past seasons, I always get comments saying, like, what can I substitute double for? What do I do if I don't have double? And I think now that Wooloo just had that event a couple days ago, that double should be quite a bit more common. So you guys should be able to build a double, hopefully. If you can't, there's just really not the best substitute for the double. It's just so versatile on the safe switch. And the opponent has a Card Bank in the back. So here what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw the Thunderbolt, and then I'm going to try to catch the Rock Slide onto the Diggersby. And I do catch the Rock Slide. That's absolutely savage. And now I believe that Diggersby should be able to take care of this Noctowl. And this is where you're going to see Quick Attack is just so nice. Normally this would be an absolutely miserable matchup for Diggersby, but with Quick Attack, we're going to be able to actually get this thing super low, and I actually make a bit of a mistake coming up here. My plan here was to farm up and throw my Fire Punch just before they get to their Sky Attack, and then basically be really close to an Earthquake for the Card Bank, but I accidentally over-farmed there. I was 1 off on my counting, and that actually allows them to take me out, but the nice thing is that we had so much energy on the Deoxys, and their energy dry, since we caught their move, that we're just going to double Thunderbolt them, and then we're going to farm down the Noctowl. So it ends up working out anyway. I should have just thrown the Fire Punch earlier, but I got a little greedy there with the overfarm, and we end up taking the game anyway. But GG to the opponent there. I believe I have maybe 2 more Flyers, and I think this one is going to be Shadow Dragonite. Really tricky for this team. And what the nice thing about running Defense Deoxys on the lead is you have that versatility to just Psycho Boost and dip. And you're going to see me do that a lot with things like Shadow Dragonite that are super glassy, because they're basically forced to shield that there. And now, even though Double doesn't have the best matchup in Dragonite, they were down a shield, so they kind of had to switch out of there, because we definitely would have made Double Body Slam before they were able to make Double Superpower. Excuse me, guys. I'm still struggling a little bit from my surgery recovery. I'm pretty much back to normal now. I'm like 95% at this point, but I'm still just Got a little bit of something down there. Tripping over a word here and there, but overall I'm doing a lot better. But as you see there, we draw out a Registeel, and they bring back in the Shadow Dragonite, and again, we're going to be chipping and dipping, and this is just another situation where Quick Attack is so clutch on the Diggersby, because we actually can do some fast move pressure to this Dragonite, and those Quick Attacks basically had nearly gotten it into Fire Punch range, which is super nice. And another matchup that's really benefited by the Quick Attack is the Azu matchup, whereas normally an XL Azu can tank 2 Earthquakes after the Mud Shots, but after a bunch of Quick Attacks, 2 Earthquakes will actually just about KO the Azu. It puts it low enough to where 1 Fire Punch will KO, as you see there, and I actually just bank the Fire Punch, and now I'm going to be able to tank the move here. They had showed me already, I think, that they were on, I think they Ice Beamed my Diggersby, which told me that they were on Ice Beam and Play Rough, so I knew I could live a move there, so I farmed down the Azu there with the Deoxys, and I Psycho Boost the Dragonite and for the win. So 3 Psycho Boosts on the Dragonite, and the 3rd one finally KOs it. So this battle here is Pelipper, and Pelipper typically has double Steel in the back. When you see Pelipper lead, you can almost guarantee there's going to be at least a Registeel, and then either like a Basti or maybe a G-Fisk in back, sometimes a Lowland Sandslash. It's a really safe bait with the Psycho Boost because Thunderbolt still KOs even after the debuff, but they made such an easy catch there. I was just so dumb. I think they even switched out like a turn early, and I still threw the Thunderbolt and the Registeel, so I should have definitely banked that energy and then swapped in the Diggersby, but unfortunately I don't. But this is still going to end up working out because of that chip damage from the Thunderbolt, the Earthquake actually plus a couple more Quick Attacks would have KO'd there, whereas if I didn't throw the Thunderbolt, the Earthquake wouldn't have KO'd, and I would have had to throw a Fire Punch. So at the very least, we're making the best of it. I still definitely should have not done that, but it is what it is. I just was a little slow on my reactions there, but we still have 2 shields, and that's the key here. Double with 2 shields should be able to take out the Pelipper and their Steel type, especially when we make the catch on the Deoxys, and they undercharged it very nicely as well, but here, I've got 2 shields. I call the Weather Ball bait. What is their back Steel type going to be? I'm expecting it to either be a G-Fisk or an Alolan Sandslash, which it is an Alolan Sandslash, and I knew there that it was better to save 2 shields because I was figuring that whether it was a G-Fisk or a Sandslash, they weren't going to have a lot of fast move pressure to pressure my double there, which is why I saved the 2 shields and called the Weather Ball bait. So if it would have been something like a Bastiodon, I probably would have gotten smacked down with 2 shields remaining there. So it was just kind of a call that I made in the moment, but good game there. Pelipper double Steel, pretty common team. And in this battle, this is just like a fairy lead. I think I threw that in here as a fairy lead because occasionally you will see like an Alolan Ninetales or a Whimsicott or something that's fairy. And typically you do want to just stay in for a little while and then Psycho Boost and then eventually switch out to the double. You don't want to switch out right away because Whimsicott obviously has a pretty good matchup against the Diggersby and back. So at the very least, you want to chip first and then probably try to get a shield if you can, and then you could pretty safely bring in the double because double just does so well with a shield advantage. It's just so versatile, and they do have a Registeel on back, and this is perfect. Double is going to throw the payback on CMP here. I threw after 5 double kicks. 5 double kicks is 15 turns to a payback, and then there's 15 turns for the Reggie to get to a Focus Blast. And by throwing on CMP there, they actually undercharge it very nicely. I don't allow the Registeel to overfarm, and because they're not able to overfarm, I'm going to be able to take this out now with a Reggie and not have to eat a move. So that's very important. I have some energy. If they bring back in the Whimsicott, I'm just going to Psycho Boost them and dip into the Diggersby, and it's going to be all up to Diggersby to take care of the back line. And it's actually a Mudboy, but fortunately it's a Quagsire and not a Swampert. It might have been a little tricky there if it was a Swampert in the back. It would have been over. We probably would have had to either bait with a Fire Punch or somehow land the Earthquake, but since it's a Quagsire, Diggersby does not care about these Mud Bombs. Diggersby can probably tank 3 Mud Bombs pretty comfortably, and my loose con at this point would be to bait with a Fire Punch and have them call it. Knowing that Diggersby's so thick, there's no really reason for me to bait here. I can just full send the Earthquakes. As you see, very easily make it to 2 Earthquakes without even using a shield. We get them super low, and now, yeah, I think we can just let this go and then counter down with the DD. So good game there. I believe that was the only Whimsicott I saw. So not a super common lead, but you will occasionally see a fairy lead, and that's pretty much how you have to play that. Again, you always want to try to preserve the DD if you can, in case they have a Medicham in the back. And another grass type here in the next battle, we have a Shadow Vic. Another lead you'll see occasionally, and typically you can expect when you see a Vic that there's probably going to be a Bastiodon in back and maybe even a Medicham. So I do actually want to switch out of here at some point to preserve the DD. I get both shields here, and now I will actually bring in the double here, and sure enough, they do have a Medicham in the back. So if we stay in with the DD there, first of all, I'm not even sure if we would have made it to another Psycho Boost before they farmed us down, but even if we would have made it, we would have gotten our DD so low that the Medicham would have then just fully swept our backline. And since we got both shields down, Double's actually going to get this Medicham super low, and this is going to make our Deoxys' job much, much easier here in the end game. And I do have a shield still, so I should be able to actually just commit to the farm. I think I just commit to the farm down here, recognizing even if they make the Ice Punch, that's totally fine. Because what I didn't want to do is throw the Psycho Boost and then have whatever they have in back come in and farm down my Deoxys for more energy. And they do actually make a really nice play here. They catch the Fire Punch, but this is okay because we're not running Mudshot, so it's going to take an Earthquake and a Fire Punch anyway to KO. And this is a matchup, like I said before, where Quick Attack Diggersby doesn't do as well, but it's still just such a dominant matchup that it doesn't really matter that much. So my play here is I need to make sure that I come out of this matchup with a Fire Punch loaded. So since I'm not quite able to farm down, I just farm to the back-to-back Fire Punches, and now we're going to take out the Bastiodon with this one, and take out the Vic with the next one. So that was like kind of a play on the Bastiodon Shadow Vic Medi team. That's pretty common. It was just a kind of the reverse order. And I believe we do see that team later on with a Bastiodon lead. But next battle, Shadow Swampert. I didn't see too many of these on the lead, but this is the lead that you occasionally will see. And the play here is, again, you do want to make sure you preserve the DD in case there's a Medicham in the back. But the key is just to do as much damage as you can with the counters before you start Psycho Boosting, because the counters really do add up a lot on Shadow Swampert. So they do shield the first one. I will throw a couple more here and probably throw one more Psycho Boost, and then we'll bring in the double. And double, if they do have the Medicham in the back, or something like a Flier that we need our DD to take care of, that the double should draw it out. So they probably are going to Hydro Cannon us, and then they dip into a Noctowl. So this is perfect. This tells me they probably don't have a Medicham, so my Diggersby should be pretty safe in the back. And honestly, I think double beats Noctowl in the 1 and 2 shield scenario. I believe the Noctowl does narrowly win the zeros, but double has a pretty nice matchup with full health, of course, against the Noctowl. And here I recognize that the opponent knows I'm not at a Thunderbolt, so they're going to let this go. And now what you're going to see is a Diggersby actually fully farm down a Flier, and that is just absolutely crazy that Diggersby can do that. Because previously, if I was running Mudshot Diggersby, this would be a really difficult game to win, because it would be very difficult to get rid of that Noctowl. But they actually bring in the Swampert there, maybe trying to catch. I don't throw the energy. What do they have in the back? It obviously does not want to see the Diggersby, and it's a Sableye. So yeah, we're looking really good here. We have so much energy. We're not even in foul play range, and they called the bait there. I full sent it, and now I can just go straight Fire Punches here, recognizing even if they call it, which they do, they're just not going to be able to survive the fast move pressure here. I think we just bring in the. I build up to nearly the back-to-back, and then I think I probably will bring in the DD to force them to throw, because if they don't throw, then they're going to have to, then they're going to get countered down. Excuse me. Sorry, guys, I've just got like a bunch of, I was going to say, I feel like I'm going to have like a coughing fit coming up here, but we're hanging in there. Next battle, I believe, I didn't see the lead. I think it was I think we're on to the Alolan Sandslash leads. I did see quite a few Alolan Sandslashes. And the thing about Alolan Sandslash leads, it's a very positive lead for us. And the nice thing is, we do, basically, our whole team does pretty well against Alolan Sandslash, but their backline typically does really well against our backline. They typically have like a Medicham or a DD and some sort of combo of either like Azu or Altaria. And they have DD, so they're running A/slash, DD, and Altaria. And the thing is with the Sandslash, they're always going to pivot out into something, obviously something, because they don't want to stay into the DD matchup. But the nice thing is, you just kind of have to accept the fact that your DD is not really going to be aligned to the Sandslash. And you just have to kind of accept that and just make sure you preserve your DD for whatever they have in the back. So as you saw there, they brought in their DD. I think I chipped it with a Thunderbolt, and then I preserved a lot of health on it, and I brought the Diggersby actually into their Deoxys, recognizing I needed to save that DD in case they had another like counter user like a Medicham or an Altaria, and sure enough, they do have an Altaria in the back. And since I preserved the DD here, the DD is able to get the shields off the Altaria and do some damage to it, and now Double is in a prime position to sweep here, because we've gotten this Altaria low enough to where it is basically in Body Slam range, and The Alolan Sandslash is not going to be able to do a lot of damage to us with its fast move, so it's probably going to need 2 moves to take us out, especially since it's a non-shadow. And at this point, I can just overfarm, commit to the payback, and payback should just about KO. We actually lived that with like 1 HP there, but recognizing I think I banked a Fire Punch on the Diggersby as well. So yeah, even if I wouldn't have survived that drill run, I had the Fire Punch banked. So that was a GG there, but just recognize that when you see the A-slash lead, they're very likely going to have things in the back that you have to use your Deoxys for. For example, the Azu here, despite the fact that, you know, it'd be great to have the A-slash aligned to our DD, we definitely have to at least do some damage and probably get a shield off this Azu with the Deoxys, because Deoxys is actually our Azu counter on this team. So they actually went for the Ice Beam, which is definitely not the play, and I get a shield there, and I land a Thunderbolt, and now, since I got a shield and landed one, I'm perfectly fine here to bring the Double in, and Double is just going to do what Double does, and that is be the GOAT and just tank damage for days, spam off these body slams like nobody's business, and there's 2 moves that we've taken now, and we're already nearly at 100 energy, and I believe this probably will just barely not KO, but they actually tried to snipe us with a Medicham, or was it a Medicham or a DD? Yeah, they had a Medicham in the back, so that was A-slash, Medicham, and Azu, another pretty common team I saw. And again, since we preserved the DD there, by switching it out of the Azu, recognizing we may still need it, we're going to be able to take out this Medicham. Otherwise, this might have gotten a little bit tricky. If we just stayed in to the Azu the whole time, we might have gotten swept by this Medicham in the back. But we're able to land the payback on it, and we have this shield still. We can shield this up. Psycho Boost should be just about KOing, and then Diggersby can come in here and just farm it down, and then Earthquake that Sandslash. And that's going to be a GG. And XL Diggersby, guys, is just so thick. We can actually tank 2 Ice Punches from a Shadow from full health and still not be in danger of being farmed down. That is just how crazy good that Diggersby is. So A-slash, despite being super powerful in this meta, is actually fully core broken by this entire team, which you absolutely love to see. So Diggersby is just going to farm down the rest of the team there. That's a GG. I believe we even have 1 more Sandslash lead. Just because Sandslash was so common, I wanted to show you guys a bunch of different potential backlines you could see. Again, another Azu. We're going to play it the same way. We're going to stay in, make sure we at the very least chip it, and probably try to grab a shield if we can. And they actually let the first one go. And since they let the first one go, yeah, I think I just bring in the double now, recognizing I still might need that Deoxys in case they have like an Altaria in the back or Medicham. I definitely want to make sure I save some health on it. And this battle is actually pretty crazy, because double just goes absolutely off here. We farm it to the back-to-back body slams. This is CMP, so if they want to get their move off, they're going to have to shield. And looking at my health here, I've used double quite a bit. I say, you know what? The GOAT's going to live this. The GOAT lives it on 1 HP. And now we're going to either force their second shield or just take out the Azu. We do take it out. We still have switch advantage. I bring in the Deoxys here just to get some extra farm. And I was planning on bringing in the Diggersby and banking this energy, but they do me a favor, and they actually switch out into the Altaria, which is perfect. So again, by preserving the DD here, we're going to get some damage off on this Altaria. And this is going to be super massive, because what you're going to see is Diggersby, a Pokemon that's normally fully walled by Altaria, is actually going to take out this Altaria with Quick Attack. And just look at the Quick Attacks add up quite a bit on the Altaria here. And now they're just about in Fire Punch range. And my play here is going to be to build with the back-to-back. That way, if they let it go, which they don't let it go, I have one ready for that Sandslash when it comes back in. I always want to make sure I have one ready, because sure enough, they do bring it back in. We're going to KO with a Fire Punch here, and then Diggersby is going to do the honors of being an Altaria counter, and we're going to take it out with a Fire Punch. You love to see Diggersby taking out an Altaria, and that's a GG. So, sorry guys, as this video's gone on, I'm struggling just a little bit here, but oh goodness. I believe in the next couple battles we do have Medicham leads. Normally I don't show you guys a ton of positive leads with this team, but to be honest, like I said in the intro, I just had so many positive leads that I figured I'd show some of them, because Medicham, I think I saw Medicham at least 10 times in my 40 battles. Medicham is just absolutely everywhere, and when the Medicham's on the lead, there are basically 2 possibilities. One is they switch out into something that's fairly neutral to DD, like a Noctowl or another Flier, and you will want to just chip it normally and then switch out to preserve the DD, because you definitely want to preserve the DD to face off against the Medicham later on. Or sometimes the opponent will just stay in and just sack their Medi and play out a very close loss, and I'm totally fine with that. If they stay in with the Medi, we just stay in the whole time and just play it out, but they actually had a Noctowl, and I believe I caught the Shadow Ball on the double. I usually try to catch when I can, obviously. Always know your counts, guys. 7 to a Shadow Ball on the Noctowl, and now that we preserve the DD now, the Deoxys should be able to come in, take it out, and I think they probably aren't going to have a better answer to the Diggers being back in. Sure enough, I believe it's a Shadow Zard. So Shadow Zard is very scary, but without shields, Shadow Zard's basically going to be destroyed by most things. The Diggersby actually, with the quick attack here, is going to be able to take this out. This is another matchup where I believe if we were on Mudshot, one Earthquake plus some Mudshots would not be enough. But check that out. Earthquake does over half of the Charizard's health, plus the quick attacks, and we actually take out a double Flyer team. So GG there. I believe in this Medicham lead, they just stay in, and it's kind of 50-50. Half of them were staying in, and half of them were switching out. And if they stay in, this is honestly perfect, because it's very unlikely that they have something in the back that is going to be able to beat a double and a Diggersby. Even if they had like a Flyer, like a Noctowl, again, both Diggersby and double beat Noctowl in the 1 and 2 shield, running a quick attack on the Diggersby. So we stay in. We will win this matchup. We'll be extremely low afterwards, and that just kind of tells you how broken Medicham is. Despite the fact that we're a Psychic type and they're part fighting, we still just barely win this matchup. And I think we actually catch here onto a Lantern. And normally with Lantern, you would bring in your Diggersby. If they would have switched out into that Lantern right away, we would have instantly brought in our Diggersby. But since we actually chipped with the Psycho Boost there, we actually will bring in the double here, because since we have some chip damage onto this thing, this should just be about in double Body Slam range. Whereas if we bring in the Diggersby, despite that chip damage, we still would have to go for an Earthquake. So that would kind of nullify the fact that that would nullify for me the fact that I chipped it with a Psycho Boost. So I bring in the double there. They've got a Noctowl in back, and yeah, this game's just going to be over. What's going to end up happening is our Diggersby going to be aligned to this Noctowl in the end game, but this is just where you're going to see that Diggersby just does not do that bad against Noctowl. We are going to have to give up some shields here, and I think that I make this battle really close just because I was wanting to BM the opponent here, just because it's not every day where you have a Diggersby putting up a fight against a Noctowl. So we're going to spam off the Fire Punches. As you see, the Fire Punches don't do a lot of damage, but the quick attacks are already adding up to the point where they're below half health, and I have so much energy here. I have 2 shields, and I believe here I farm up to the max energy here because I want to Fire Punch this thing and then finish it off with an Earthquake, whereas I could just double Fire Punched it. I could have double Fire Punched it earlier, but I wanted to land the Earthquake on the Noctowl, and I believe we even undercharged it as well, and we Earthquake the Noctowl for the win. So I do like to BM. As you guys who have followed me for a while know, I do occasionally like to BM my opponents. I mean no disrespect whatsoever, but you gotta have fun when you're playing the game, guys. It's a game. We're all here just trying to have fun, and if you're not BMing your opponent, like if you're not catching Zap Cannons onto your Diggersby, then why are you playing the game, guys? It's just, we're all out here having a good time, and we catch the Zap Cannon there. They have a Medicham in back. Normally I don't say switch into the Diggersby, but I just really wanted to catch the Zap Cannon on the Registeel, and they actually debuffed us as well. And check it out, even after the debuff, 1 Earthquake plus the quick attacks has already gotten them well below half health. So they're actually going to be forced to shield this Earthquake if they want to survive, and they do. So we force a shield from the Medicham. We still have a very healthy Deoxys with some energy, and this is looking pretty good for us because I doubt they have a better response to our double and back than a Medicham. We'll have to see. Probably going to be bringing back in the Reggie, I'm guessing, and they do bring it back in. I will tank this Zap Cannon, and I think I do just stay in here because the double matchup into Registeel is a little bit awkward because we have to go for the paybacks to do really any meaningful damage, and I think the play here is going to be to actually just fully farm them down, bank the Psycho Boost and then energy, and yeah, they have a Shadow Zard, so I bank the Psycho Boost, which is really important, and I bring the double right away. I didn't want to throw the Psycho Boost on the Zard immediately because they could have survived it since I was debuffed, but all I really need to do here is get their shield and do just a little bit more damage with my double kicks and body slams, and now we can just save the, I guess we already used our shield, but now we can just save the energy on the Deoxys and Psycho Boost them immediately. So they're going to be forced to throw right away. They're not at the back-to-back moves. I have the Psycho Boost loaded. I'm going to Psycho Boost this Zard, and then we're going to get a counter down on the Deoxys, I believe, and that's going to be a good game. So, sorry guys, I know I'm sniffling and coughing and snorting, whatever else you're going to call it, but I think it's almost over. I think we only have maybe like 1 more Registeel lead, And then I think we have the Bastiodon lead and then maybe like a Walrein or something. But Shadow Zard is kind of scary for this team in general. Shadow Zard is just so strong. I'm sure you guys have seen. I know Humslice put out a video recently with Shadow Zard, but it's just really, really a scary Pokemon to face up against. When a Zard switches into you, I always Psycho Boost and dip into the double, just because double is so spammy. One Body Slam doesn't quite KO, but after the double kicks add up, you usually can get shields and do some damage. As you see there, the double was able to get the Zard low enough. So that's really all I care about, is just getting rid of it so my Diggersby doesn't have to see it. And the Registeel comes back in. They have an Azu in the back, and we should be okay here. I know I'm not doing the best job on commentating on this battle, but we still have 2 shields. And I think I recognize here that the Deoxys is my win con, since they had the Azu in the back. Was it an Azu, or am I just like totally seeing things? Yeah, it was an Azu in the back. And yeah, we have 2 shields, so I call the bait. Probably going to be an Ice Beam, and it's an Ice Beam, and the opponent surrenders, so that's a GG. And I believe we're on to the last 2 battles. So Bastiodon, very common lead as well. I saw quite a few of these. I didn't include too many of them just because it's a really, really good lead, obviously. And our whole team just completely destroys Bastiodon, which is actually the reason why I built the team in the first place, because Bastiodon is just probably one of my least favorite Pokemon. Now, I will say Medicham is up there now. Medicham is just so annoying anymore, being on like every single team, that I think Medicham has nearly surpassed Bastiodon on my shit list. But I think Bastiodon's still at the top. So this team fully beats Bastiodon. All 3 of these Pokemon beat Bastiodon. And this, of course, is the very common Bastiodon, Shadow Vic, and Medi line. And since we were able to preserve the Deoxys on the Vic, which again, you always want to try to preserve the Deoxys, we're going to be able to take care of this Medicham. We still have a shield, but I know that they're not going to be able to counter me down after they land a move here. And I think the play here is going to be just Psycho Boost them, and then farm them down with Quick Attacks, and then Earthquake the Bastiodon. And I think I will shield, because the Medicham's move, they're going to do way more than the Bastiodons. And they actually had a Dynamic Punch, so thank goodness I didn't try to flex on them and no shield that. But yeah, Bastiodon surrenders. And in the last battle, this was kind of a spicy team. I only saw 1 Walrein, ironically, and actually only 1 Chesnaught as well. But I did include this just because Chesnaught's kind of an awkward Pokemon to play against. We definitely do want to stay in, and the key here is just massively, massively overfarm. Get the most out of your counter damage, and then when you can start firing off the Psycho Boosts after you have farmed up a ton of energy. So I do need to start shielding here, and I do at least want to try to get both of their shields before I switch out. And then I'm actually going to bank a Psycho Boost here. I don't want to throw a quad debuff Psycho Boost, so I bring in the double. I overfarm, expecting them to throw the superpower and then probably dip. And they actually do dip out of there, but they don't throw the superpower, they throw the frenzy, and then they bring back in the Walrein. Not really sure why, maybe just to keep it away from the Deoxys, but Walrein is not a counter to double, guys. Double gonna fully take out the Walrein. They're only gonna make it to 1 move. It's only an Icicle Spear, and they probably can't bring back in the Chesnaught because they're energy dry, I believe. So they're probably gonna be bringing in their 3rd, and it's a Sableye. You absolutely love to see it. The Diggersby is about to go off here, and I saved that Psycho Boost on the Deoxys, so I just wait for them to switch in. They switch in the Chesnaught. I have the Psycho Boost for the Chesnaught here, and now Diggersby is going to go to town on the Sableye. Yeah, the opponent surrenders. That's a GG. That is the end of the video, and I guess I need to update my Pikachu Libre spread because, yeah, this is from last season. So actually, I now have enough Pikachu Libres to where it's going to fill up this entire screen. So that is 12 times now that I've hit, wait, let's see, 3, 6, yeah, 9. So it's going to be 12 times now that I've hit Legend. So pretty cool. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. It is a pretty strong team. In case these battles here didn't prove it, the team's really good. Definitely try it out. Again, just remember with the team, Deoxys is very, very valuable. If you don't see a Medicham on the lead, you always want to try to safe switch out if you can and preserve it, because the way you lose battles with the team, obviously I did lose 12, were really lines where I kind of had to stay in the lead with the Deoxys. Like, for example, something like a Powder Snow Alolan Ninetales, or like a Fairy type, or something basically that core breaks the backline, where you kind of have to stay in. And then if the opponent has like a Flier and a Medicham in the back, the Medicham oftentimes can sweep your backline if you don't have the Deoxys still alive. So keep that in mind. Always try to preserve the Deoxys. And also, I think you should definitely consider running Quick Attack on the Diggersby. It really does make a big difference in preventing your Diggersby from being fully walled in some of these matchups. So, thank you guys for watching. Real quick before we end this, I do want to say, if you guys didn't see my post a little while back, I do now have a Discord. So if you want to join me on Discord, I will leave the link to that in the description. And also, if you guys haven't sent me in a battle for the top wins of the month, make sure you start sending them in. We have like another week or so of July, and I will be posting that probably at the beginning of August, the top wins of the month of July. So it doesn't have to be super spicy, but make sure you send me in an awesome BM or a really nice play. I want to see your crazy plays. I want to see your BMs. I want to see you guys coming back for some hard counter leads, and I'll have a description to that form or a link to that form in the description as well. So that's going to be it today. Thanks for watching, and if you are not subscribed, guys, please consider subscribing, because the more subscribers we can get, the more Pokemon my wife will let me play.